I just had these like mysterious symptoms and things that nobody could figure out. Why am I unable to gain weight? Why do I have like insomnia? Why am I, why is my hair falling out? Like, it just, no idea. Basically, you get this inflammation response and then kind of nerve damage where you become like hyper reactive to the exposures. Like, it happened after smart meters went on my home and I didn't even know. I knew things like you shouldn't live right next to a cell tower, or you shouldn't maybe have it next to your head all the time. And I found out it's not just me, it's like millions of people. This is like a hugely marginalized group of people in the world that don't get any attention.
Hey guys, today's guest is an author and a researcher whose work exposes the dangerous and often hidden damage behind the technology and invisible electrical signals which surround us every moment of every day. Her name is Shannon Rowan, and we're going to dive deep into her journey after she was personally injured in 2014 by smart technology, making her hyperreactive and hypersensitive to both electricity and the plague that is 5G. We're going to discuss why she believes much of what we've been told about EMFs is a lie, why the current push for electric vehicles is an absolutely horrid scam and affront to the green energy movement, how so-called futurists are determining our future by pushing a transhumanist vision that involves merging humans and machines. We'll also uncover and discuss the true motive behind wiring the entire planet, which Shannon has learned has everything to do with mind control, of course, and cybernetics. We're going to talk about Shannon's new book, The Red Shoes, Our Devil's Dance with Technology, and how we can stop it. And finally, the one critical step any one of us can take right now to mitigate the damage being done to us daily by 5G and the smart technology that surrounds us. Enjoy the show, my friends. So, tell me, is everything we've been told about electricity a lie? Would you say that?
In terms of the health, in terms of it being safe for our health, yes.
Yes?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, because basically we're led to believe that it's perfectly harmless. You know, we can get exposed as much as we want. When I say, not just electricity, let's just say EMFs is a good kind of blanket term, which is just electromagnetic field, and meaning specifically man-made, artificial, non-native to the planet fields, because there is a like natural field on the earth. So this is something that we are not supportive of biological life. I don't believe in like Darwinian model of evolution, but if you want to say like we haven't been adapted to this, you could use that term. Lie. Lies. Lots of lies.
So lots of lies, beginning with the advent of electricity and then the different discoveries that were made with it, right? And then the decision, which came down, of course, from corporate fascism, regarding which electricity to allow into the public sphere. I think that's where kind of the lies begin there, right? Because everybody knows if you get struck by lightning, it ain't good for you. And we've seen the damage that a bolt of electricity can do to an organic structure like a tree or whatever. But go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say, and even predating that, or no, I don't know when. I mean, we know about Benjamin Franklin and his famous kite experiment and all of that. Those fun stories, but really early experiments in like 1700s with like Galvani and Volt, like we use those terms. It's actually last names of early researchers, found that very weak fields had profound effects on biology. They were first kind of experimenting with frogs reflexing, causing muscles to spasm with little tiny, little shocks and
electrodes
right, yeah, and it's just a very but I'm always skeptical of this like linear idea, like linear model of history and our inventions and how, our discoveries, how it's always like we kind of went from caveman and primitive people to like where we are today, and we're so intelligent, smart, and advanced, right? And so we have this model of like we were primitive, we were in just 100, 200 years ago, we were horse and buggy, and now look at where we are today. And it just doesn't really ring true for me, because I do there's a lot of evidence to show that we had other technologies and then we lost that knowledge and those were suppressed, with all, especially when you look into like the World Fair, all the expos that happened, and then the places burned down and all that all that was lost suddenly. And there's always these resets, and it's interesting that today we're being told very black and white, we're having a reset. It's another reset, the Great Reset, Klaus Schwab. It's like they're not even hiding that from us, and I wonder if they didn't hide it before. I don't know it, but we're undergoing another one, so which implies that we're going to lose other knowledge and skills that we've had in favor of what's being pushed on us now. So,
yeah, I've done research into the World Fairs. Is that what they called the World Fairs?
Expo, World Fair,
and so these are, and I'm sure my editor will pull up some incredibly astounding pictures to show our viewers, for our audio listeners. You can Google this and you'll see some pictures that are pretty hard to believe about these giant structures that went up in an amount of time that is very difficult to imagine, even today, let alone back then. It would seem virtually impossible. And then the questions about that become like, well, was there something already there? Were they, or did they really build this up? And then was the something that was there contained an ability to conduit energy or electricity or power in a way which the same corporate fascists who eventually rolled out this electricity, which isn't so good for us, did not want people to know? That is the great question about those fairs that a lot of people ask.
Mm-hmm. I'm convinced we had other power sources that were like more biologically compatible, I'll put it that way, and I don't think we just went suddenly from like this very primitive, maybe we went into sort of like with another reset into dark ages and then, like in the interim. But it's just really hard for me to swallow the linear, like, we're just climbing, getting better and better. Just because even in my short lifetime, I've seen like regressions and, just this kind of devolution, we're dumbing down effects. So obviously that can't possibly be true. I don't know.
You don't got to tell me,
Yeah.
Elon Musk is selling electric cars as if they were something new.
Right.
As if Henry Ford didn't invent an electric car before he invented a gasoline vehicle and then was told, you can put that electric one away. We're going to be putting forth things that people have to pay for, gasoline and stuff. Yeah. So it's like people are just generally ignorant about the history of energy and resources and electricity. Like people are buying Teslas, they think they're saving the planet. I'm like, Elon Musk is the king of dusting off antiquated obsolete technology and making it do funny things, with computer technology and calling it new. I'm like, so he got a rocket like that. Even that technology is ridiculously obsolete.
Well, and just not, the whole green energy scam and that it's healthier for the planet is just unbelievably false. I mean, that's actually another book I'm working on. It's going to be called Operation Greenwash, but it's really like, so I've done a lot of research into EVs and how destructive they truly are on our environment. And the fact that they get away with calling them zero emissions is just amazing to me. I mean, from the mining to manufacturing to, battery longevity issues, charging stations, how are they powered? It's amazing to me that people don't even ask the simple question of like how I'm charging the battery in this thing. Like it's coming from somewhere. Maybe you don't see it burning, but it's burning somewhere. Something's burning. Fossil fuels are burning somewhere to power your EV, and a lot more of that is being used than you would just for a traditional, gas-powered automobile. And we even, in some cases, you see there's a gas-powered, diesel generator at the charging station that's being used right there. It's like, it's just very inefficient. It's just a whole scam, another scam. So, but you're right. Yeah, this was like electric streetcars. I mean, they've been around forever. Like, they still have them. It's just
Yeah,
anyway.
they were considered to be, inferior to the gasoline
Yes.
vehicles.
And they are.
For
I mean, again, it's
yeah,
like you're using a lot more energy to do that. At least the way we source energy right now for electricity
right,
is it's less efficient than just the combustion, using the gasoline, put it in your car. I mean, we could have gas-powered vehicles that run on, how
oh yeah,
many gallons the efficiency of it right now, fuel efficiency has gotten worse again. We were seeing that it was going to get better, and we were being promised it was going to get better, and now we're like seeing it go the other way again because it's not profitable for us to be able to go 100,
that's
200,
right.
300
No, you
miles on a
kidding me?
gallon, right? Right, we could, but not profitable.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke. People don't think about it. People think, oh, well, it's just the way it is. No, no, yeah, okay. We're on the iPhone 37,000, which can do everything a computer can. But when it comes to vehicles, we're still we're
Yeah.
still pumping gas and using electric battery. Like no one thinks about it because everyone's very busy, But
Exactly.
it's crazy the damage being done, and the fact that that's been this administration has taken a different stance than the Biden administration as far as pushing the EV vehicles, which is like pushing EV vehicles in the name of quote climate change, which of course I'm not going to say I believe in any way. I don't, but it's like saying buy McDonald's, eat cheeseburgers, keep a healthy heart. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
if you even if you don't or do believe in the concept of climate change, if you're still buying an EV vehicle in order to be of service and help in that mission, then you're eating McDonald's
Yeah.
cheeseburgers to help your heart disease. Okay, like, and people are
Yeah.
just like, it's propaganda. Just swallow it whole.
Well, and
But what
it's
do you
and
know?
it's also yeah, it's I like to not say climate change. I like to say environmental devastation because we
Yeah,
are dealing with that, which can
we are
have
dealing with that.
can have climate effects. When you have
Yes.
rampant deforestation everywhere, and you're putting these monstrous wind turbines up that that have weather
Hmm.
effects, and you're using geoengineering. There's weather effects. There's climate effects, but it's orchestrated. I mean, I think that
Totally.
that's what's happening, but it is a problem, and I mean, yeah, but you're not helping. You're not helping when you get an EV. You're not
No,
helping if you
no,
do pretty much anything you're told to do to help the climate.
that's right.
You're going to be probably doing the opposite thing.
Perfectly said. Anything the government tells you to do to help is usually to help them and not what they're saying you can help for, including your health. But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
climate change was decided on because it's unlike global cooling or global warming. It's a tough one to get wrong because obviously the climate's always changing. So, but people don't
hmm
understand that the this whole nonsense about carbon and it's it's
You
really
mean
spoon fed.
carbon as in plant food? That
Yeah,
plant and
except
food, and we're carbon-based biology. This is
life
interesting to
forms.
me because it's
Yeah,
like it sounds like they want to get rid of carbon-based life forms and go into like synbio, and which is so
certainly
getting.
sounds like that when Peter Thiel talks.
Oh yeah,
Did you hear that kook?
yeah,
I saw an interview with him. They asked
yeah.
him. They said about the human race. You see that?
No, I don't. I know some. I think I've quoted him before, but remind me of that one. I might know
Oh
it.
my God! It's like it's astounding. It's unbelievable. The interview somehow survived and stayed out in the public, stayed out on on social media because the interviewer literally asks Peter Thiel. He says, "Do you think the human race should survive?" And this
Oh
was Peter's response. Ready?
yeah.
And the interviewer is like, "That is a long, long." And he was like, well, like he couldn't bring himself to even lie about how he feels about the human race. Like, and
Oh gosh.
this is just
Yeah.
incredibly
I mean, we're
dangerous,
constantly
the amount
fed
of
that.
power.
We're constantly fed these ideas that we're so terrible, right? And that's why technology is going to save us and to evolve into something better because humans are so flawed, we're so weak, we're we're a scourge on the face of the earth. We're a virus. I mean, look at the Matrix movies. The aliens are, you're a virus. You're a virus. All these all the messaging we get of how horrible we are.
Yep.
There's too many of us, and we're spreading disease and we're destroying everything. Meanwhile, the 1% that's actually destroying everything and spreading disease and causing misery, says we have to be called back to be able to right that wrong. And in my opinion, it's like if you could cull them, the 1%, the elite, doing all this, then we would be a lot better off. So it's really not about too many humans. It's about too many aliens. What I would call aliens in the sense that they are alienated from nature and from naturalness and natural human, everything in biology. So whether or not they're reptilian or not, I don't know, but they are obviously like without compassion and empathy, which I consider like main human traits that we should be holding on to and which are eroding. And thanks to technology. And this kind of segue into my kind of what we're going to talk about today, I'm assuming, or why you had me on, but The Red Shoes, my new book I have here, Our Devil's Dance with Technology and How We Can Stop It. Is basically about this. I have a chapter called Human Obsolescence because that's what we're kind of facing right now. And as that, alien, you just quoted, who didn't really say anything. But this is the attitude is like humans should, it's just
You're talking
evolution.
to the right audience, so don't worry.
Okay, good. It's like, it's this transhumanist vision of our future, being created and packaged and sold to us by so-called futurists. They call themselves futurists because they're determining our futures for us. We don't have a say in it. It's like, and they decided that we should merge with machines, with computers, because that's just the next step in our evolution. It's like natural somehow, even though it's not, and they're kind of just pushing it on us. And there's just so many ways this is happening right now, and we need to be aware of it. And that's kind of one of my motivations for writing this is to sort of help us to see that and to fight back if we want to exist as humans.
We want to thrive and be healthy and live to be the age, to 120 or even beyond, instead of, where they're cutting us off at now with everything they're doing to us. But, people don't understand, and it's really hard to bridge this gap because the cell phones are just so everywhere. But, we pay a secret price every time we pick up our cell phone, don't we? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, so my background is the reason I got into studying like EMF topic is I got personally injured by the technology, all the smart technology, back in 2014. So I was living in Washington, D.C. That's basically where I'm from, and I lived in a lot of other places, but I was living in that, one of the worst electro-polluted cities in the world as it happens. I found out too late. Which makes sense to the government and everything, but belly of the beast, right? So here I was in this soup, not even knowing that's what was causing a lot of chronic health issues I was dealing with. And I'm, kind of like a health nut. I'm eating healthy, I'm trying, exercising a lot and really health conscious and like, not taking pharmaceuticals and I'm really, and I just had these like mysterious symptoms and things that nobody could figure out, not even like the alternative health doctors, naturopaths, and everything. I don't know, why am I unable to gain weight? Why do I have like insomnia? Why am I, why is my hair falling out? Like, it just, no idea. So then I finally got to a point of injury where I just reacted to the cause of it, which was actually a blessing. But it was because of like nerve damage. Basically, you get this inflammation response and then kind of nerve damage where you become like hyper reactive to the exposures, like becoming allergic to something, like having a lot of people become allergic to things because they get this like kind of what you consider like a threshold level exposure where you can't tolerate that exposure anymore. So your body goes into a reactive mode of like, hey, that's poison, get it away from me, which is good in a way, but it also means there's injury, right? So it happened after smart meters went on my home and I didn't even know because it didn't even tell me except for something in the mail with a fine print I didn't read or something, and that had been going on. And that had been like actually when my insomnia started, but I just didn't even know that was there. And I didn't know there was a Wi-Fi router under my bed from the neighbor downstairs, like, on top of their shelf. Like, I didn't know I was dealing with that. I just didn't know why I couldn't sleep, and I was having nightmares and night sweats and, dealing with this for a long time. It was horrible. And then it got to the point, then I got a smartphone, and I was a holdout only because of the expense, honestly. Like, it was just, I didn't think that it was worth paying for. And then when the price came down, I was like, well, why not? All these great features and great camera on it. And I'm a photographer, so I'm like, this is awesome, right? And so I was totally into it. And I knew, like, it's not good. I thought, okay, I knew things like you shouldn't live right next to a cell tower, or you shouldn't maybe have it next to your head all the time. Like, I didn't really have more awareness than that, but I knew that, like, it wasn't healthy to, like, have this next to your head. And I always felt some heating effect. Like, and a lot of people do. And if you're feeling the heat from that, you're already being injured. That's what I didn't know. If I had known that, then I would have probably been, like, let me take a step farther back from this, and I maybe would have prevented probably further damage. But as it turned out, I got to, like, that kind of point of no return for me, where I ended up with worse symptoms, and I could feel it when I'm holding it, and it's really causing me pain, bodily pains, inflammation, migraines, heart palpitations, heart arrhythmias, chest pain, just really scary stuff, like, especially with the heart arrhythmia. So I tried a lot of remediation things first when I realized what was going on. And then my partner and I realized we just needed to move. I wasn't getting better. I wasn't going to get better that quickly. I was going to my town council meetings, trying to get them to, like, take the Wi-Fi out of my food co-op. They just put in,
I've heard it called radio sick. Wait, radio. What do they call it? Radio sickness?
Well, radio frequency sickness. Well, okay,
radio frequency sickness. Yeah.
Actually, it was like microwave sickness, microwave syndrome, were the early terms used when radar operators were getting sick like this. In fact, like, Tesla, got sick like the same way. He had these symptoms. Now they call it electrohypersensitivity, which makes it just sound like I'm imagining things, right? Instead of, like, an injury. So that's kind of a clever change. And so ever since these fields have been, introduced, there's always been a fallout. There's always been, like, a smaller percentage of the population, but a percentage of the population reacting. And it's just, they consider collateral damage. It's kind of like, I see it as like the upgrade didn't take, like the human, to get to human 2.0 or whatever, my upgrade, like, wasn't taking. Like, it's like my body's rejecting this. And some people won't. They won't reject the brain chip. They won't reject these things, and they'll just become cyborgs, but I'm rejecting it. So like vaccines and, like, all the injuries from all these things that are, like, meant to change us and alter us, and and to make us more, like, controllable, I think, is the end goal. But so that's was the beginning of my journey, and why I got into this. And I had to move several times, and I found out it's not just me. It's like millions of people. This is like a hugely marginalized group of people in the world that don't get any attention. I mean, they're living out of their cars, they're in the woods, and then the woods suddenly there's a cell tower in the public, national parks, and they're everywhere. And it's like, I actually finally found a place in a little pocket of land where it's deep and, like, enough, in a ravine sort of to get away from the signals. But that's and it's super crazy wilderness, and there's still the cell towers here. I mean, it's amazing how they ended up everywhere so quickly. And I hadn't noticed until I needed to notice. Like, I realized a lot of people didn't even know what a cell tower looked like, and they're not looking at them because they're looking at their screens. And then I started to see, like, the addiction and how much this has overwhelmed people and taken over their lives, that they're not looking up anymore. And the timing, like, they're not looking up when suddenly there's just the geoengineering program, persistent contrails took off. They don't see it because they're looking at their screens. They're not looking up. They're not seeing the cell towers. They're not seeing any of this prison being built around them, because they're so enchanted by this little magical portal into another world, that they carry with them everywhere. So you've got, like, the physical effects that are affecting a lot of people. And I think it affects everybody, but it's like they don't notice because their bodies are still kind of compensating in a way that doesn't, like, alert them to the damage. But the damage is happening nonetheless, and they will end up with a shortened lifespan, something, and this is part of it. Not the only thing, because we've got a lot of, like, other assaults in chemicals and, injections happening that are causing problems like this. But It's one of the things, and it's a big thing, and it's a big thing for a lot of people because it's like up to 10% in some countries of people dealing with these reactions. It's a huge number. We're talking about millions of people. Oh, I can't hear you suddenly. Oh, what happened? I still can't hear you. Uh-oh.
It's a good thing you said something. I've
Oh,
been talking to
there you
myself the
go.
whole time.
Okay, good.
This mic keeps
Oh,
slipping
yeah.
down, and then I'm
Okay.
putting it back up, and I'm bumping the mute button. But
Oh, I
okay,
see.
there we go.
Okay.
I was just watching a 2015 presentation at the UN in Vienna, and this woman is talking about, how the whole office is wired with, they did the readings. It was like 1/quintillionth the strength of what is supposed to be allowed in the UN building. And she said, and she's asking the guy in 2015, like, is it possible for you to at least keep track of the health effects of the people who are working under this? Of course, they won't and they can't, and they pretend like there's no problem. But when 5G came out, we those of us who researched it saw that there was no biological testing done. It was just rushed out like everything else. Our regulatory bodies do not function for the people; they function for the corporation. And this is a big problem. People think that we're being protected. We're not being protected by anything or any institution. Those institutions are in place to protect the corporations from us, and their bottom line. And
Yeah.
make sure that whatever's happening is marginalized.
Yeah, and I just to kind of try to prove this to people, I'm trying to show them the corruption and how there's captured agencies. I mean, revolving doors between lobbyist groups case in point, Tom Wheeler was the head of the biggest, wireless lobbyist group for a decade, and then he became the head of the chair of the FCC, that's just supposed to regulate the wireless industry. And it's like this happens all the time. They just hire each other. They got each other's backs. They pass
Revolving
legislation that says that the people can't oppose a cell tower because on the grounds of health. This happened in 1996. Bill Clinton, before this stuff even rolled out, they got it ready. Bill Clinton passed the Telecommunications Act bill that says we can't ever say, I want that cell tower taken down or I don't want it put up because of health effects. Specifically.
Wow.
Why would you put that in there if you didn't already know that was going to be a problem and that people would find that out? And yeah, so that's still still law.
I didn't know that.
You still can't. People do it anyway. It happens in some cases. They're able to still do something about it, but it's very difficult. They make it as hard as possible, like to take the stuff down or to stop it from going up. Look at the lockdowns happened right when 5G was going up, and people were aware, were protesting it, and they had essential worker pass while you were supposed to stay inside, right?
Yeah. And they made them look like trees so no one would notice when they could go back out.
Oh yeah, or like the street lamps. They're kind of very covert as well.
So in your research, what do you think? What do you think their true motive for wanting to wire the whole planet is? I know I have my theories, and that has everything to do with control.
Yeah,
but I'd love to hear what you think. Yeah.
So what I've learned, what is really interesting about all of this is, my research took me to studying mind control and cyberneticians in particular. If you're familiar with cybernetics and cyberneticians, cyber means to steer in Greek, and that cyberspace is like a controlled space. It's steering people within the space. So everything with cyber on it is about control. Because this group of it was military, CIA, all these different branches working together with brain doctors, they called them, in the 1950s. But they were, been studying mind control earlier than that. So we're talking about, remote controlling people through electrodes in their brains and things like that. And, a lot of crude experiments early on. It's just, again, like you were saying with Musk, he's just kind of brushing off old technology and repackaging it. And that's exactly what's going on with Neuralink, which is now calling telepathy, or the brain chip that we're all supposed to get to keep up with AI. Otherwise, AI is going to take all of our jobs. And AI is such a threat that he developed AI. He's the primary person behind it. Yeah, he's telling us that it's out of his control and he can't stop it, and you got to just join it. Right. Yeah. So yeah, they I mean, a long time ago now, studying this effects on people with electromagnetic fields on the brain and what that can do for with to emotions, eliciting fear, violence, euphoria,
Hmm.
like any response, and they really fine-tuned that. And it got to the point where you didn't even need the electrodes in the brain anymore. You could just use the
That's right.
fields and affect people with it. So this is like, yeah. So what they also learned at these, so they had these famous meetings called the Macy's meetings. They were in the Macy's building in New York in the 50s. And what they came to understand is that the mind isn't separate from, we're not separate from our environment, right? So you can't really control somebody without controlling his environment. And so the best way to control, because they openly talked about controlling humans because we were such a problem, because there's violence is a problem. We need to
Yep.
control them. And so, and they appointed themselves as like the people to decide this somehow. They were like, we're deciding like how to control humans and and I mean, there's a book called what Human Behavior, Controlling Man, Human Animal, how to control the human animal or something, Jose
Yeah.
Delgado.
Oh yeah.
And so, all right. So then they decided that, okay, there's this natural matrix we live in, and there's all this signaling input and couching things in terms of computers, because it's like everything is about computers and
Hmm.
like so we have these senses and sensory input, and this is like what affects us and how we navigate the world, and how we behave is all based upon these inputs. So they thought, well, if we can create another matrix, impose it on this one, an artificial one, we can control humans better. And they said, yeah, let's make a new matrix. And you know what the beginning of the new matrix was? Is the internet. And so
Hmm.
it started with, that was ARPANET, DARPA, defense arm of the research arm
Oh yeah.
of our government, military. So it started as a military thing, and same with Facebook. And, all this is like military technology, and all of
Google
it. I mean,
patents,
yeah, is
patents. Yep.
military technology. And, then it became sold to us as like, oh, a convenience or something to enhance your life or a communication tool. I mean, if we were just like said, oh, here's this thing you're going to carry around with you. It's going to track all of your movements, record all your conversations, eventually read your thoughts, affect your behavior, make you sick.
Yeah.
I mean, would you just say, yeah, I'll have one of
No, we would
those?
never buy it.
Yeah.
You're right.
But no, but it's sold to you. It has games in it. You can play Candy Crush and like your friends'
Right.
posts and watch cute kitty videos and do what, it's like, then it's sure, but that's really
It's
why. It's really why. That's the reason.
I was
So,
just watching. There's a famous. He was a former intelligence naval officer in the. I want to say, maybe he started in the 50s. No, maybe not in the 50s. Maybe started in the 70s. Bill Cooper, his name is. He wrote a great book you probably read, "Behold a Pale Horse."
I
Classic
haven't read it, but yeah.
American. Oh, you got to check it out. It's one of the.
Okay.
It's one of the OGs. Bill Cooper was. I mean, before David Icke and before Alex Jones, Bill Cooper had a show called "The Hour of Our Time," a radio show. But he has been talking about microchips and the microchipping and the fact that they rolled out this program for pets, so as if the government gives two shits about our pets, so they could test their microchipping ability and all the things they can do with it. And of course, that makes a lot more sense than the government actually caring whether you can find your pet or not if it's lost. And they would put a microchip in everything if they could get away with it, and they try.
Well,
But
yeah.
you know,
Internet of
this was
Things.
1989. He's talking about the microchip agenda.
Oh yeah, yeah, and they did. I mean, people
Hmm.
tried to warn us a long time ago, I think, and in so many ways, and in sometimes just in sci-fi novels or trying to like
Yeah.
trying to warn us, and we're like, no, that's crazy. That would never happen. I mean, look at all the things that like we thought were crazy, or our parents thought were crazy, like in the 50s, that would never happen, and that are just part
You're
of
right.
daily life now. And like you mentioned, it's called RFID chip for pets. So
Right.
I had a dog walking business for a while when I was in DC, and I still can't forget the day when a client contacted us to tell us that our dog walker didn't do the full 30 minutes, and he had proof because he had on his smartphone, he showed where the dog walker had, gone. I mean, where the dog went on his walk, and it wasn't, and when he came home and when he left, because he had a freaking chip in his dog and it's connected to his smartphone. And I thought, what?
Wow.
Oh my gosh. And then we, fast forward to, that was like 10 years, more than 10 years ago, to, oh wait, which one can we say? Plandemic times.
I think plandemic's easier to get away with.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
And we see like all these people saying, "Hey, that would be great. How we should start using that in people because we can contact trace them." Well, first, just use the smartphone for that, but then lanyards for kids at school with the same technology to keep them from each other, make sure they're 6 feet apart, and beeping. I mean, later beeping when they're within 6 feet of another kid. What is that doing to this child? I mean, that's classic, like what they call it, operative, behavioral. And I'm saying it wrong, but anyway, like classic like behavioral techniques of like mind control, that
Oh, yeah.
I mean, using like Pavlov, using beeps, using sound, and then like a reward with that, and just more ways of controlling us. So yeah, and the
That's it right
internet,
there. Yeah.
and the internet went. So the reason it's wireless, because it could be wired. And it still has like, there's harms because of the way it's designed to be addictive and distract us and, and disconnect us and dumb us down and all of that. But the push toward wireless is really about, one, surveillance, because you can't as easily wiretap with a wired. You have to put the bug in the line, physically. But with a wireless, you don't have to do that at all. So it's great. It serves governments wonderfully who want to, keep tabs on their citizens and keep them in check and everything. So which just shows you, it's like, if the government was like what we put in place for things we wanted to do for us, this wouldn't happen. But instead, the government's become this other thing that sees us as the threat, to keep in check.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a threat to its power that keeps getting bigger, right? And its existence.
Totally inverse.
Yes. Yeah. And so then it became, so now it's like this Internet of Things, tagging everything being smart, being connected to the internet. The futurists saying they want the internet just to be part of, they actually say they want it to be like invisible, the way electricity is, where it's just around you all the time. And it's just part of you. It knows your thoughts. It'll open your door for you, whatever. You can be like, come into your home and it should be able to, know your preferences already for the lighting, for the music you want played, and all of this nonsense that's not important to our actual health and well-being and survival or any of that. It's not about getting us better food and clothing and shelter and and fulfillment and longevity. It's none of that. So
No, absolutely not. It's not. Anything they say, it's typically the opposite. But you wrote a very comprehensive book with John, the one we mentioned, called "Welcome to the Masquerade," and that covers everything from, the 2020 debacle to directed energy weapons. And so, but of course, throughout this, there is the theme of predictive programming, which we mentioned a little bit earlier. And, I talk about this a lot in the shows because it's always been, this is what Hollywood and, the media has always been hijacked for. Predictive programming, for everything from E.T., Close Encounters of the Third Kind, like all these films, like there is a level of predictive programming in them, or they would not be ordained and sent to the studios for the most part, So can you give us some of the craziest examples that you found in your research of this?
Oh gosh, I mean,
predictive
it's like
programming?
There's so many. Well, when it comes to the pandemic, there was like an episode, maybe a lot of the viewers already saw this, that was on like the Dead Zone from the 1990s. The Dead Zone made into a series, like, so Stephen King's, novel. So there's a character who's like psychic because of an accident he had. And he like can see things. He works with law enforcement, and he actually was like, oh, there's a virus and it's like gonna, and we gotta like lock down the city now or else, and he's like, it's gonna, and all this, and they actually said, we'll call it a lockdown. They're like, people aren't gonna like that. They're like, too bad, because
Wow.
it's like, and they actually said, we'll call it a lockdown. This was in the 90s. And then and more than that is like he ended up saying that the cure for it was like was hydroxychloroquine. Like he's like,
Oh
yeah, I
yeah, I
usually
remember
use it
reading
for
about that.
malaria, but actually, and so that's just, that was a little like that was one of the crazier ones to me in terms of the
Right.
specifics and these details. But there's so many. Okay, I didn't realize before this until I looked into it, but how many movies have a virus like narrative, and a
Oh yeah.
apocalyptic, and to do with zombies.
Outbreak,
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, that one. Yeah, that one's funny. Dustin
And all the
Hoffman.
zombie films always come from a quote virus, Yeah.
Yes. So I think we just cover, I mean, we put a lot in that chapter, but
Yeah.
it's just like the tip of the iceberg with that and everything. So like you said, and I read a lot, and I read novels too, kind of as a break from all the heavy reading. But I've noticed
Hmm.
since then, since I start questioning a lot of these like things I accepted, like germ theory, and and looked into it, I thought every book, even if it doesn't seem like propaganda, like pushes forward some kind of idea that our masters or whatever want us to believe in. Like, so if it's a bestseller, if it's
Yep.
on the if it's on the New York Times bestseller list, it's gonna say something about germ theory. It wouldn't even, the book's not even about like a pandemic, but it's like has germ theory in it. It has
Hmm.
something about vaccines, and it has something about that, or like other things like just social engineering stuff about like gender identity. And I mean, it's got to
Hmm.
be inserted in there, or you're not going to get on that list. It seems like, I mean, I don't even think
Nope.
the writers know this. They're just so propagandized themselves that they're in,
Totally.
like, that they just write the stuff that you're meant to write, and you don't even think that you're doing that.
Right.
So,
So true.
but, and oh,
And
it's cell
this goes
phones
back to
and
the
smart technology, and I mean, anyway, so there's lots of predictive programming about that, and about technology, and about and accepting it, and how great now it's all about accepting it, and how great it is for us.
right. And they're planting seeds. So because they don't want things to be, they want people to be able to digest the reality that they're selling, the narrative that they're pushing, whatever it may be. And so they're always planting seeds. I mean, this is propaganda 101. They do this with everything from, like, the movie Argo was a film about Canadian hostages being rescued in part by the CIA, but it paints Iran to be a bunch of savage, American hating, barbaric maniacs. Like the whole movie paints this place that is not Iran in any way. You go
Yeah.
back to the Titanic, but this is before, obviously before TV, but there was a book published about a big giant ship that ran into an iceberg, and the ship's name was the Titanic. You know what I
Right,
mean? Like
that's
you
right.
just
Oh,
so
oh,
like they
right.
know
Yeah.
what to do. They've been doing it since before TV. They plant the seeds, and they understand the collective consciousness of humanity, and they're planting seeds so that when their plans roll out, it's not unbelievable. People aren't like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I can't believe that happened. Wait a minute, how the fuck? How did
Right.
a giant cruise vessel find an iceberg in the middle of the ocean, in the deepest part of the ocean? Nobody's going to stop and ask that question,
Yeah.
because I mean, it'd be too obvious. But they just believe, well, remember that book, that happened in that book too.
Well, and
People
you're
are
not, and
just
it is subconscious. You're not like always
sleepwalking.
consciously aware of it. And what's so fascinating to me is that most of these scenarios are dystopian. It's like,
Yeah,
stuff like that we are supposed to accept now as like, accept becoming a cyborg,
exactly.
accept AI robots walking among us and having citizenship. Blade Runner said that was bad, and it was going to be really scary and bad for us.
Hmm.
But like, because we watch, it's so popular, we watch Blade Runner, we watch the Matrix movies, we watched all these different, and there's so many more, so many movies and shows now with robots that look like humans. You can't tell the
Hmm.
difference between them. One of them, in recent years, called Humans, the show,
Hmm.
interestingly. And it's always scary, which is funny because I think that's the truth. It's scary stuff, but But like
Yeah.
when they then sell it to us, when it's happening, it's like, no, but it's not actually scary. That was just a fiction. And it's also like, well, better the devil you know than one you don't, right? So even though it was a scary thing,
Yeah.
it's familiar, and it's the familiarity of something is what makes us like comfortable with it. Weirdly, I mean, people are more comfortable staying at home with an abuser than going out in the world and being having to like make decisions for themselves and become independent. And so
true. Stockholm syndrome and all that.
yes.
It's so we've been talking a lot about the depopulation agenda. I don't think many of my listeners who have been listening to my podcast, or even ones that tuned into this, still believe that this could possibly be a theory. I mean, like it's like it's like an onslaught that's happening every day. I don't know how. I guess there are people out there, but they're not listening to this podcast. So I was going to ask about that, but I just think it's kind of I'm going to skip that question because anyone listening to this podcast already knows the depopulation agenda that's been in full effect for a long time.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then I don't know. You needed to go back and start from episode 1 of my podcast and pick up Shannon's books and get with the program because they've been doing the same thing for a long time. But in your latest book, The Red Shoes, Our Devil's Dance with Technology and How We Can Stop It. My question is short of kind of packing up, moving off grid, which I understand you have. What's one change that anyone can make in their life to help mitigate this?
You could take your cell phone and get a hammer and smash it to smithereens. And then dance
like
for
Hillary
joy.
Clinton did.
Yeah.
She did it for other reasons, but
yeah, I was gonna say not the same reasons. I don't think. I didn't. It's funny. I didn't know she had the nickname Killary, which is hilarious to me and perfect. Yeah. I'm like, why didn't I hear that before? I just heard it recently. Yeah, Killary. So, you can. Well, okay. I know a lot of people feel like that's impossible to do, and I thought it would be impossible for myself, but I was kind of forced into it. But I was glad I was forced into it. It's interesting how like we end up having to get forced into things, and I'm trying to encourage people to like make informative decisions and conscious choices now about their tech use and be sovereign and do it instead of like waiting until you have to. Yeah. And so, it's so destructive for your life that you have to do something. Okay, so short of like smashing up your cell phone, I mean, at least dumb it down, get a so-called dumb phone or something. I mean, stop letting it rule your life.
Do they even sell dumb phones anymore?
It's hard. I think it's really hard to get. I hear people get them sometimes. I don't even know how, but I've heard of like how some people figure out how to like dumb your phone down, at least like get rid of all the crap. I mean, the tracking things and all the apps and all this stuff and just turn it into just a phone, I mean,
but it still has a cellular signal, which isn't good for you.
This is why I'm not, I mean, okay, so I start with at least baby steps, airplane mode, that thing. Like, you don't need it to be transmitting all the freaking time. Even if you want to still use it for your calendar or taking pictures or whatever, it doesn't have to be transmitting it. And, usually that works, but I had a friend recently visit and I'm like, she had her phone on airplane mode and I'm like, I'm feeling that stuff still. What is going on? And I'm
wow.
My body meter is really good. So like, I'm not imagining this. I know I'm not, sometimes it's like hard because I go, am I crazy? But we get the meter out that's verified that this thing is still doing something. And we couldn't figure out why. So she just had to turn it off. But, it's good to get an EMF meter, like reading
an EMF
that,
reader,
so you can actually see this, and because you might not be sensitive like me, and even just the cheapest one. I mean, something to show you that this is real and happening. If you read my books, I have just literally hundreds of like studies proving how this works and why it's harmful, and so knowing that you can have like irreversible damage to your body in a myriad of ways, like hopefully motivate you to take, get away from this. And I can't believe that we're sitting here today and kids can get this stuff and use it and they're being given it at school. And yet I just learned in California where I live now, you can't smoke in your car with a minor in the car. It's a felony or something.
But you can give him a fucking,
but
give him an iPhone to stick an iPad in his face for 5 hours.
Yeah. Even though the World Health Organization, as corrupt as it is, had to finally say that it's a class 2B carcinogen in the same category as DDT, asbestos and lead. And you can't expose, as far as I know, you can't expose an employee to those things and make them be exposed to them 24/7 for their jobs, right? Any of those things
Yep.
yet.
No, that would be against the law.
Yeah, it would be against the law, but not. It's amazing. So you just realize that you're okay, not your friend. This technology. So try to wire everything. That's another thing you can do. You can still do that. There are ways to wire your internet connection. You do not have to have the Wi-Fi on.
Totally.
You can actually. It's harder. This is another why I'm like, it's got to be like a conspiracy. I mean, I know I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but my God, like when I first was affected by this, I could still get a Wi-Fi router with an on-off button on it. I could get a printer with a Wi-Fi on-off button. You can't get either of those things and no mas.
That's right.
You don't have a choice. But you do because I mean, the printer's hard. I don't know. I just have a really old printer. It doesn't work very well, but like, you can still, with as far as I know, like they're still letting us do this. You can like contact your internet provider. They might not know what the hell you're talking about, and you might have to like get a supervisor. But you can turn that off, and you can actually get the control yourself. You can go to the page on your, there's some page that you go to online and you just unclick the boxes that say, they say Wi-Fi, they say 5G now, you can unclick that one. There's all kinds of stuff that's clicked on that you don't know about. And you can turn it off, and then you can just have it hardwired with the Ethernet cable, which a lot of new computers don't even have a port for that, but you can get adapters for that. So there are adapters, there's ways of doing this. You can even use a really long USB cable and plug it into if your phone is your internet and that's all you've got, you can like get that away from you. And limiting your time with this. I advise people to start doing things like taking, and this is hard for people, but I do it now. I mean, because I'm off grid and I'm using wired internet, but I still understand the effects of like spending a lot of time on technology and on screens, right? And even though I do research that way primarily, but I actually read a lot of books too. I try to do most of it, off screens. But having at least one day a week where you are not tethered to any technology when you're free of it, it's amazing. It'll totally change your life. Like, I mean, it'll be like, oh, right, I used to do other things besides stare at a screen.
Right.
I used to do things in the world. I forgot about all those things I used to do. It's so healthy. And so an hour a day, 1 day per week, start with that. If you can't do an hour a day, I mean, come on, then you're like, this is a problem. Like, you got to look at this.
Yep.
I mean, that's an addiction. So, it's very addictive.
It's a big, giant. It's epidemic. It's everywhere.
Everybody is addicted to this. I'm myself included. Now I'm more aware of it that I did this research and read this book, how like research can be addictive because of the way the internet's designed, all the rabbit holes and, because information novelty is like what's addictive, right? Like a new information. And it's great. I mean, we want to learn things and I'm not dissing that obviously, but the way in which we learn them can be damaging because of like the dopamine hits that are happening with it. It's not like we used to go to the library and you look up microfiche, and that wasn't exactly like a dopamine stimulating activity. I know because I used to do that.
No,
but
it's a little different.
It was good because you're like, you want to learn things, but it was like work. It was kind of fun. You like going through the cards of the Dewey Decimal System and trying to find your books and but different experience.
Took a little bit of brain work. Yeah. I mean, there was a dopamine payoff at the end when you found what you were looking for, or you come across that research you were tearing through books to find.
But
that was a healthy one,
And it's different when you work for it. Yeah, that's the difference.
And you were forced to acquire knowledge to get to that point. So you're like, I read this, I read that. Oh, here it is, Whereas now it's like instant. But Shannon, let's have a speed round, okay?
Okay.
I'm trying to incorporate this into my podcast because it's fun. What's the biggest lie we've been told about technology?
Oh, and I have to say this quickly. Is this the speed? Okay.
Well, you can
I don't know.
Try.
That
it's safe.
I mean, I guess we already covered that. So I feel like that it's safe. Yeah. I mean,
certainly.
That it's improving our lives. I guess. That's the one we're always fed about any kind of technology. It's improving our lives. But is it? I mean, are we healthier, smarter, stronger, more independent, just
Yeah,
wealthier, happier, more connected, more fulfilled? None, I mean, do
it's a
we
good
even have more
question.
free time? Like all the things we were promised.
Yeah,
Is any of that true? I think people are
yeah. I mean,
lonelier. I
it
mean, statistics
depends.
prove that they're not happier or healthier or, you
No,
know, so
but how much that has to do with their dependence on technology is another question. But yeah, I
yes.
mean,
And yeah.
it's a double-edged sword, you know.
I mean, there, and
Um,
yeah, we're using it right now, right? I think interestingly, if I,
yeah, we are.
and you offered to have me fly out there, I want to just point out
Yeah.
that, and I can't because I can't fly because of radar and Wi-Fi and all that, and I can't
Wow.
handle it. And yet, so this is offered us, so this is a great tool for when we really can't meet in person, yet
Hmm.
we wouldn't even have to be having this conversation or using this tool were it not for the tool to
That's
begin with. So, you know
exactly.
what I
And the
mean?
conversation is gonna then go out, and people are gonna be able to learn about it. Ironically, they're gonna use technology to learn about the dangers of technology.
Yeah, I know.
But
It
that's
is
what
an
I mean.
irony.
It's it's a double-edged sword. Communication is part of the fabric of the human experience. And technology has allowed us to communicate across vast distances instantaneously. And that can be pretty incredible for loved ones and
Yeah.
family and people around, who are on the other side of the planet, but are still only like a few seconds away from hearing the voice of their loved ones. So it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
But
like,
we could do it
it's,
different. We could do it differently and we could do it in a
yeah.
healthier way. And
Safer, for
that's
sure. We could actually
safer.
revamp it and have it be safe,
Yeah.
or safer, as safe as possible. Don't, I mean, if I'm sure that if they put their minds to it, they could develop protection installed in the hardware, and
Oh,
not
it's
just the
yeah.
the software parameters they're running that are sending and receiving in nonstop, which is not good, but also in the hardware. Don't tell me they can't put their minds to it and make it safer for our biology. That's BS.
Yeah, it's already possible. I mean, I'm anyway, I don't know if you want me to talk on that, but at all, but it is possible because
Sure. You want to,
yeah. Well, there's
I mean,
one
I'm sure
thing
people
that's
are
really
like, okay,
convinced me. There's one thing that's convinced me that it's definitely possible because I learned that these safety tests that are done, there's very few, and they're done in a way to like make them like obsolete by the time they come out because you do long-term studies for a decade and then you have a new generation of wireless and then the old generation studies don't count anymore. And that's like one of the reasons it's like almost every 10 years there's another generation so that the safety studies can't are obsolete. But anyway, when they do them, they actually put the cell phones in what's called a reverberation chamber, which means that it changes the. Okay, so one of the reasons why, main reason why artificial EMFs are harmful is that they're really powerful, more powerful than natural. And the reason is they're called coherent energy in physics instead of incoherent energy, which is like the Earth's
mm,
natural energy. And they actually are able to put them in these chambers where it converts the coherent to incoherent. So they're set up to fail because the energy is already changed to something more biologically compatible so that then when they show
mm,
health effects, they don't show very many of them. It still shows some, but it's not anything like it would show. And this is the standard. Even independent researchers use it, not realizing that what it's happening here. And so there's obviously a way to convert this energy back to something more harmonious with biology, and they don't do it. So, and the power, just the power levels of it. Green Bank in West Virginia is like the radio quiet, national radio quiet zone, which actually isn't so much anymore because of just so much pressure to include, now
yeah,
there is Wi-Fi. There wasn't allowed, you couldn't even have like a wireless anything, like a cordless phone or anything because of the National Observatory for listening. They're like listening to space signals, so they need it like radio quiet around. But that's
mm,
changed a lot. But they have cell phone coverage now. They didn't before. But you know what it is that happens? If you go into Green Bank right now with your smartphone, it automatically reduces the power level of the transmissions for
wow,
you. It's like less. It works. So why
yeah,
So why isn't it just like that everywhere? I mean,
yeah.
this
Why
is
can I
so
mean,
many
or at least in
questions.
places where Yeah. Like it's so it doesn't surprise me that they
Yeah.
have that technology as well.
I mean, I'm
So
sure they're
what's
protecting
worse,
themselves with
Wi-Fi?
it. Okay, sorry. Go back to your
Oh
question. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
you
Yeah.
better believe it.
Okay.
What's worse, Wi-Fi or cell signals?
Oh, that is, I don't think I can really answer that because as a sensitive person, they're both pretty horrible. And it sort of depend on how,
Mm,
okay, cell phones because you're closer to it, I would say. If
yeah.
it's just a short answer, because if you were sitting next to the router, then that's worse. Or, it all depends. Like the
Right, right.
router,
But most people aren't. Yeah.
yeah, and if it's a WiMAX router, then that's probably worse than your cell phone. So it's really going to depend on the type of router and how close you are. And so it's not an easy one to answer.
What do you think is scarier, AI or EMFs? It's like apples and
Oh, yeah, I
steak or
don't
something.
know. I
It's an
mean,
odd.
I guess,
Mm,
you know, EMFs are still scarier to me because of like the direct harm I feel,
mm,
but AI has a
yeah,
scarier long-term implication involved.
yeah. That will probably involve EMFs anyway.
It does. I mean, it's not really separate from it usually.
Yeah. Okay. Who's more dangerous, Bill Gates or Elon Musk?
Actually, Elon Musk. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, God, they're both fucking dangerous, but
Well, he's richer now,
mm,
apparently. So than Gates, they were kind of in a race there, I think, for a while. And he's got more, supposedly, I don't know, he's got more money, but I think he has more things going on that are more destructive, ultimately, than Gates.
really,
But
then Bill? Bill's
yeah,
had so much going on that's so destructive.
I know, but I
He's
mean,
like building one
well,
company that makes some kind
yeah,
of terrible thing for humans after the next, or working on, doing something to the environment, which would be terrible for
yeah,
humans.
they're pretty close,
Um,
but you've got Musk's got the 5G and probably 6G satellites that just keeps launching, and the
mm,
Tesla and AI and the EVs, and I mean I already said Tesla. I don't know. I mean
yeah,
it's a hard one, and because I know Gates also has the
it
farm.
is.
He bought up all the farms. He's doing all the GMO farming as well as like all the injections. We'll
It's
call
got to
them.
sell that impossible beef or beyond beef. What the hell?
Yeah,
Whatever
these
that
yeah these are
abomination of
hard questions
stuff
to
is called.
answer one way or the other.
Yeah. So well, that this is exciting. Your new book is your new book out or it's coming out,
Yeah,
right?
it's out.
Or the
Came
one
out this
it's
summer.
out, right?
Hmm.
Tell everyone the name of it, for
Yeah.
everyone who is listening, and also where they can follow you and find you, and
Hmm.
I'm sure your books are available on Amazon.
Yeah,
But
they
let everyone
are.
know.
Yeah, it's The Red Shoes, Our Devil's Dance with Technology and How We Can Stop It. You can just go to my website, which is wi-fi-refugee.com, meaning that there's a hyphen between Wi-Fi and refugee, not spelled out. And I have links to my books there. You can actually get them on Barnes and Noble too. And they're
Nice.
better. They're a little bit more expensive because the printing is more expensive, but they're a lot better quality. And I just, Amazon drives me crazy, and I just wish I wasn't having to be on
Mm,
there. But there's not a lot of options. It's pretty much all a monopoly with the publishing. But yeah, I
hmm
have them there. And I have like other, well, we mentioned Welcome to the Masquerade, but I also have Shots Fired, Vaccine Weapons, Medical Tyranny, and the War Against Humanity, which is like an 800-page book with that gets into more detail actually of some of the things that John and I covered in terms of like vaccine
mm,
history and germ theory history, and how that led us to where we are today in transhumanism. And then also Wi-Fi Refugee, Plight of the Modern Day Canary, which is like about my personal journey with EMF harm, and also journeys of other people I met along the way and interviewed, and interviews with like scientists and science behind all that. The new
hmm
book. Do you want to know why I call it The Red Shoes? Do you have
Yeah.
time to talk about that? I don't know how much longer you want to talk.
Yeah, we have enough time to talk about the why you call it red shoes. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a fable, Hans Christian Andersen. Also told this, I have a retelling of it in this book, but it's basically the same story. And so it's like a girl who, those of you who aren't familiar with it, she's like an orphan living in the woods, probably like, I don't know what age she is, probably like 12 or something, around there. And so it seems like that age. So she's a young girl still, but old enough to kind of take care of herself. And she's like made her own shoes. They're red shoes. They're crude, but she's proud of them because it's like her own creation. She's doing okay on her own out there, but it's hard sometimes, right? When you're a sovereign person and you're trying to make your way. And so along comes a gilded carriage one day when she's kind of feeling down about things and like feeling like it's hard. She just wants a break. And it comes up, and this old woman in it promises her a life of ease and luxury if she just steps inside the carriage. All her burdens will be lifted. She's got wealth. She wants to take care of her. So she's like, okay, yeah, like that sounds great. So she goes off with her, and the minute she soon realizes it's a trap because, she's isolated in this nice home, but she's like no longer free to do her to just do what she wants, or, craft her own existence. And her shoes are burned immediately with the rest of her clothes without her permission. And then she has to choose new shoes. When she gets to do that, she chooses red ones because they remind her what she created, but they're kind of fancy and shiny, and they entice her. And she is like, there's a lot of groomers in the story, like enablers, and what seem like kind of creepy old men groomers too going on. There's like this other kind of, I think, sexual abduction, trafficking undertone, tone to it. That's something else is going on there. But and I get into that in the book actually as well. But so she finds herself in these shoes that start dancing her. Like she's not dancing, like she's dancing in them because this other man says, you want to dance. He's like playing some music outside at church. He's got a red beard, like a devil character. She starts dancing, and then she can't stop dancing. Like it's fun at first and exciting, but then at some point she finds herself like where she's not able to eat or sleep, and she's just dancing and dancing and dancing, and it's exhausting, and she can't take the shoes off, and to the point where she actually has to ask for help from another man who has an axe in the woods. Because back then, like, you were in the woods, there's a woodsman with an axe. You just kind of, one of these people you run into. And so they're trying to get her shoes off, and he can't even cut them off with the axe. He has to cut her feet off with the shoes. So she's
oh my God, completely,
it's, brutal stories, right? These were like cautionary tales for kids, and they had a purpose. And I think that we need more of those kind of like, and we have some of those stories, modern day stories, like, Taken with Liam Neeson is a good kind of like, one of these like cautionary tales for young women. But then at the same time, like they're rescued, and it's not as realistic, like not everybody has like Liam Neeson as a father, but
Chuck Norris 2.0.
Right. So, she's like just destroyed her life. That decision, that poorly made decision that, in a moment of weakness to just take the easy way out led to her demise. And this is what's happening. So to me, that story is a great analogy, and it's showing where we are with it also shows like the role reversal of tool versus master. And so we are not masters over our tools. The tools are masters over us. And this is what I'm trying to get people to see and to like reverse those roles. Like if this was just a tool, if it was just a tool we're using, it wouldn't be prompting us and conditioning us and telling us what to do, and making us so anxious.
That's right.
And constantly pinging at us and not letting us sleep. And, so it's
and
like
governing our,
Yeah. So it's not a tool anymore. It's called a tool, but it isn't really a tool. And we're the tool,
right.
So it's like to remind us of that and how it could be. And so that's where that came from. And it also led me into investigating the Red Shoe Club, you may have heard of or not. But, well, some of it's rumors, I guess, conjecture, but there is like a Hollywood club called the Red Shoe Club that is about like that, elite. They don't even disclose who's a member. Like some of them are more openly members, but supposedly it's just a private club. They have secret rituals and ceremonies. Not to worry. It's nothing sinister. It's just. But rumors go.
That's why it's a big secret, because there's nothing to be concerned about.
Nothing to hide or anything. But some of the rumors are that it's like they have shoes made out of. they wear red shoes. That's part of it, and that they're made out of like children they've killed or something. I mean,
Oh
I don't
God.
know about that. Hopefully
Hillary
not.
Clinton
But
must be a member.
she'd probably right. Hillary is, I'm sure, top on the list
Yeah.
there. But just
Hillary. I never,
what? Sorry.
I said I never understood why everyone yelled lock her up in 2016, but since then I've researched her extensively and now I'm like, oh, duh. She
Yeah.
really should be locked up.
Yeah.
They weren't
I
just saying
know.
that because they were like, it wasn't just mob. It was those people probably actually knew what I would go on to learn, that Hillary Clinton should absolutely be in jail along with her
And
husband.
Bill, I mean,
Anyway,
yeah, the Clinton, like the
yeah.
Clinton body count. If you look up that and see how many.
Oh yeah. I'm doing a special
Yeah.
on it as we speak.
Oh,
It is incredible. But
wow.
Shannon, are you on social media?
No, I'm allergic to social media.
No, because you don't have the phone. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Well, and it's just that
Okay.
it's
Just
even before that. Even I could do it on my computer, but it's a
yeah.
unnecessary time suck for me, and I trying to live my life more
I hear
offline than
you.
online. And I don't think that there's
I
anyway.
respect
I
that.
don't do it. I'm not judging people, but I'm just saying that's not for me.
No, I got you. I had to ask in case people want to follow
Yeah.
you. Um,
No, I don't want people to
but,
follow
you know,
me. I just want them to read my books. But I don't,
buy Shannon's books, learn about these things.
that's how you can help me out.
Yeah, there you go. But listen, for everyone who's listening on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, please let us know what you thought of the interview. Give us 5 stars if you like us. We could use the algorithmic boost that we talk about a lot of stuff on this podcast that is not algorithmic friendly. And so we need help sharing it. And if you want to support my work, there's also my Patreon page, which a lot of the conversations I have, which can't live on YouTube, live uncensored on Patreon. So that's a great way to support me and check it out. But Shannon, I appreciate your time so much. I love what you're doing, and I'm going to get into your newest book as soon as it's on my list. So I'll be picking it up. And thank you again for coming on. I will. I'll let you know when it's going to come out in case you want to check it out.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you, Shannon. Appreciate it. You take care.
You too.